Welcome to the Massage Mentor Live. I'm Diane Mitkowski. I've been a massage practitioner since 1996. The only paycheck I've taken is from the massage business since 1996. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be here with David, who is, as I'm finding, just a plethora of information on massage. He's actually been doing massage longer than I have. He's been doing massage for about 30 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think we're at 31 or 32 now, actually.
Tell us a little bit about your history with massage.
I grew up going down to Esalen and Big Sur 2-3 times a year, watching massages because they were done out in public there. And then I started getting body work when I was about 16, and I went to massage school at 25, and then about 10 years later, I started studying with John Barnes, doing the myofascial release, and I lived in a small community in San Luis Obispo, and I stuck my head down, and for the last almost 20 years, I've just been practicing MFR on people who are in chronic pain, chronic and acute pain.
That's awesome. And we're just going to dive right into one of the things that you wanted to talk about, and as I got to know you a little bit today, it's, like I said, it's just so exciting because of how much the massage industry has changed over the last 30 years, to find someone across the United States that's kind of been there with me the whole time, although we've just met earlier today. But our topic today was, what do you mean by stop hurting yourself? So do you want to talk a little bit about what you mean when you say stop hurting yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the people I see, most of their aches and pains are self-induced. Chronic holding patterns. They hold their shoulders tight. They hold their jaw tight. They have bad body mechanics and ergodynamics at their workstation, whether they're doing massage or they're sitting at a desk or they're in the construction trade. And so you don't use your body properly, and it's chronic holding patterns, it's micro traumas, and over years of doing these things, it shows up as pain. And a lot of people come to me and they've got this pain in their shoulders, and they get headaches, and they have low back pain, and they don't know how it got there. I said, well, what happened? Well, I didn't really have any big accidents, or there wasn't this. And so I start working with them, and I start noticing that they're holding their bodies tight. And so instead of saying, I see you hold your body tight, stop doing that, what I do is I send them home with a homework assignment. You were going to ask me all these questions, and all the questions are all wrapped up into one.
No, I love this. I love this.
So,
one of the things is that, like, for me, if you just tell someone, well, you're holding your body tight, well, obviously they know they're holding their body tight because that's why they've come to you. So I think that's great. It's a great approach.
So what I do is I give them a homework assignment. And the homework assignment almost always is go home and pay attention to how your body feels. And when you're holding your body tight, or what you're doing, I want you to start noticing what you're doing to your body. And sometimes I'll just have them focus on their jaws or their shoulder or their low back, wherever they're having problems, because the whole body frequently is too much. And I say, when you come back next time, tell me what you learned about yourself. And they come back and they say, oh my God, I hold my jaw tight all the time. I do this, I do that. And I said, okay, that's great. Okay, so now that you know this thing, what I want you to do next time is, when you notice you're holding your body tight, I don't want you to let it go. Because if you've been doing that for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and it hasn't done anything for you yet, you catch yourself holding your shoulders tight, you go, oh, I got this tightness, it hurts. So you let it go. Well, you've been doing that for 20, 30 years, it's a waste of time. It's not stopping you from holding your shoulders tight, it's just giving a little bit of relief for the moment, and then 2 seconds later, you're holding your shoulders tight again. So I send people home with these assignments. So the next assignment is, okay, now when you catch yourself holding your body tight, I want you to exaggerate it a little bit, 10 or 15% of your strength. Mm-hmm. So they start doing that. So then they start figuring out, well, what muscles am I actually flexing? And so over a series of time, I keep building these assignments upon each other, and people start learning what they're doing to themselves. And so then as you start tightening up, then you go, oh, I'm starting to do this thing. And then you can let it go. And then you kind of have this little mental battle with yourself for a while. And then pretty soon down the road, you notice, oh, I'm not holding my shoulders tight like I used to, or I'm not clenching my jaw like I used to. I don't have any more headaches. Take these big layers off, and then we can get down to what their problem is. Okay, we're in this car accident, and okay, so now we see that you have a restriction in the QL. And that's what your injury really is. And you're weak on this side, you're overtight on this side. So now we actually know what's really going on with you. And then we can deal with the trauma and the injury much easier than all these other layers piled up upon it.
That is awesome. I love that approach. I mean, you explained it perfectly. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, well,
so
good.
Stop hurting yourself is kind of, unraveling the client. And
Yeah.
I think that would cover, tell us about behavioral modifications that you use with clients.
Well, that is.
You just give a few examples of that right away already.
Right. So that is the thing we just described. That homework assignment I give people is the behavior modification. Okay, you can get somebody who bites their nails and you can say, okay, hit me every time you see me biting my nails. That's not going to teach them anything. They're just going to get upset with you that you're hitting them.
Right.
You have to know you're doing it. You have to know you're biting your nails. You have to know you're holding your shoulders tight. So as you learn, then you can make a choice. Oh, I don't have to do this because now I know what I'm doing, because you brought it to your conscious thought as opposed to it just being a reaction. We all walk around just reacting to everything around us, and we're all stuck in the fight or flight response. And this is the part of the conversation I don't have with my clients up front, because when you start talking about the fight or flight response and the emotional component and the trauma and the stress and all this big stuff that really is the key factor to most of this, people don't want to hear it. They don't want to go there. It turns people off, especially if you're working on somebody who's very intellectual and they don't want to go there. But you give them these assignments, and almost 100% of the time they open up that door eventually. They start seeing the patterns. When I'm really stressed at work is when I get my headaches. Or they start seeing the patterns, and then when they open up that conversation, then they've opened the door and invited you in instead of giving them the answers. You can see it with people all the time, but if you tell them, it's like telling your toddler the stove's hot. He doesn't know what that means until he touches the stove.
Right.
And he goes, oh, that hurts. I don't want to do that again.
Right.
I know what hot is.
Right.
And then, of course, there's those of us who don't believe it, and we have to do it a second or third time to actually some of us have to learn things the hard way,
Right. Well, there was a couple things that you said that I really liked. I like the idea, and this is I'll tell you the honest truth about myself is I've never even thought of the idea of over exaggerating. So when they feel like they're going, and they're getting their shoulders up to almost over exaggerating, I just think that then too pushes their awareness in their mind. I know one of my father's favorite comments was, Diane, awareness is key. So really awareness is really, if I'm hearing you correctly, one of the first steps without overwhelming them with too much information at first.
Exactly. It's self-awareness. I tell people, okay, so you're holding your shoulders tight. How do you stop doing something you don't know you're doing? And a lot of times people go, well, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
People go, oh, I need more self-awareness. I go, exactly. You need more self-awareness. So let me give you some tools that you can go home and practice with. Can
I share one of my tools?
Sure.
One of the things that I do sometimes too is I'll just stop everything. Even if sometimes I find myself, if I'm even lounging around on the couch, I'll just kind of stop and say, where am I? Like, where is my body? And sometimes I'm like, oh, my body's kind of like this. I can't believe that's really just how I hold myself.
And then you wonder, well, it's really, exactly. And you wonder, well, it's really uncomfortable. Why am I in a really uncomfortable position for all this time? Exactly. Exactly. Right. And the advantage to the patient as they get these lessons I teach is they need less therapy.
Right.
Ultimately, I want people to be independent and not have to have any treatment. If I could treat you once or twice and that's all you needed, I'd live with that.
That's awesome.
Not very many people that are like that, but
So I think we kind of covered this in a roundabout way, but I would love you to just focus on, how does an emotional stress create pain? You had that listed.
Because we react. Something goes on over here. We hear a conversation, somebody says something, and we just react to it. And what we do in that reaction is, as humans, we tend to hold our bodies tight. There's lots of other things that people do. Overworkers, underachievers, alcoholics. There's lots of things people do around the emotional trauma, but I do, since I work with the body, that's the part I focus in on. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was your question there?
I know we get all in.
Or the emotional
all our
component
stuff.
about it. So
how does emotional stress create pain?
So we react. So when we're a toddler and we're running down the street and we fall on our face and it hurts, usually what happens is some adult comes along that's been teaching us about the world and they say, oh, it's okay, honey, it doesn't hurt. So we're in pain. We're actually in pain. And somebody's telling us that it doesn't hurt. So we're being lied to. And so we learn to shut that part of our body down. We hold the emotions in. So then the next time we get hurt, there's this little thing in the back of our mind that says, well, this probably shouldn't hurt. So we try to figure out how to hold it in. We clench our jaw, we hold our shoulders. I equate it to champagne. I moved from wine country. So champagne has so much pressure in it that the cork doesn't stay in by itself. They actually have to put a wire cage around it to hold it on. And that's what happens with our emotions. We hold it in and we hold it in and we hold it in instead of just letting it out.
Oh, that's great. I like that analogy. It's really cool, David.
You know, so if that little kid was just told the truth, yeah, you're right, honey, it hurts. Let's put some ice on it. Let's put a Band-Aid on you. It's going to hurt for a little while, and then you're going to be okay after that. That's the truth. And then we would learn how to deal with our emotions. Everybody wants to shut us down. Right.
I love that. And then the last thing that we're going to just kind of get into, and we've already gotten into a little bit, was what are chronic holding patterns?
Well, those are the patterns that I was just talking about. We hold our body. It's the things that we do chronically over and over and over again. It's not the one-time thing. You know, I'm lifting something up and holding my body because I'm lifting something up. It's the always holding your shoulders tight, even when you don't need to be. You're always holding your jaw tight, even when you don't need to be. Those are just some basic examples of what chronic holding patterns are. Ulcers are created from ulcers and irritable bowel syndrome, things like that. Menstrual cramps are frequently caused from chronic holding patterns where you hold them in your intestines.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, the bottom of all this and kind of where you'd like to start off with your clients is the awareness part. You know, just not overwhelming them with the chronic patterns and the emotions and all these things, but just getting them to relate to you and talking to them in a way where they can almost discover things themselves.
Exactly. People think you're judgmental. Even when you do standing postural assessment with somebody and you see, you know, they're standing like this, they take that offensively.
I agree.
So, you know, when I do those sorts of assessments with people, I always frame it in a way that I'm just mirroring to you what I see, because you can't really stand in the mirror and see how you're standing. It doesn't really work. So I grossly exaggerate it in almost a comical way. And that way they can see how they're standing and stuff. But,
right.
Yeah, you can't just point things out frequently. People are too sensitive.
Well, if we're going to keep it to time, David, we're just about out of time. Did you have anything else that you want to cover? I have to say that this has been, I can't wait to talk to you again.
Oh, well, good. I'm looking forward.
You have so much to offer the community.
Yeah, I got lots of different topics like we were talking about earlier and stuff, and I appreciate this.
Really excited. Anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, everybody just needs to be easy on themselves. We all work way too hard, and we're all too rough on ourselves. So everybody's okay the way they are. Just cut yourself a break.
Well, this is Diane Mikowski signing off. Thank you so much, David, for being with us. Thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to talking with you and seeing you again soon.